Hello everyone, welcome back, and today we are going to discuss how to play a Semi-Slav defense with the black pieces. And this is the opening which is played against 1d4 with the black pieces, and this is the opening that every player must know in the beginner level, in the club level player, and this is a very basic fundamental opening. And I guess there are many players in the chess world who really face real trouble against 1d4 with the black pieces. Like, there are many options to play against 1d4, but they always get confused how to reply against 1d4. So I guess it's this video is going to be very essential for them, and this video might help them to improve their chess level and chess skills. So yeah, so let's check it out. So we are going to discuss by looking at the game of Gukesh versus Vladimir Kramnik, played on 13 March 2023, very recently I would say. And the game is very interesting, a very instructive game, because you can already sense that Vladimir Kramnik, the former world champion, is playing the game, so definitely we are going to learn a lot from them. Vladimir Kramnik with the black pieces and Gukesh with the white pieces. So Gukesh with the white pieces starts with 1d4. And guys, I have decided to make this video particularly because there was a comment in the previous video to make the video on the Semi-Slav Defense. So I have came up with this video. So if you want any video that I should come up with, then you can simply just write in the comment box below. I'm going to definitely come up with that video in the upcoming videos. So yeah, so d4 by Gukesh, and here we have g5 by Vladimir Kramnik. And white plays c4, and we have c6 on the second move. So this standard position is known as the Semi-Slav Defense. And I guess that this position is very common to all of you, very standard. So after c6, we have knight to f3. So after c4, it is not compulsion that black plays c6. There are many games where black also goes for playing e6, because both the moves have their own strength and weaknesses. But okay, today we are going to discuss c6, the Semi-Slav Defense. If you play e6, we have the Queen's Gambit decline variation. So yeah, c6, knight to f3 by Gukesh, knight to f6, knight to c3. So far so good. White is developing the pieces, and black puts the pawn to e6. Now, after knight to c3, there are many players who simply tries to develop the bishop first, like playing bishop f5. And the idea is, because if you try to play e6, the bishop simply gets blocked. But guys, playing e6 in this position is much more better compared to the bishop f5. Bishop f5 is simply a mistake, I would say, because after cd, queen b3, and black faces the real issues on the pawn on b7, so it's not a good idea. So yeah, e6 by Vladimir Kramnik, and we have this triangular setup, which is a very standard setup. e3 by white. So yeah, there are many players in the chess world who go for playing up the bishop, like bishop g5, simply developing the pieces, and it definitely is a fine move, like pinning up the knight, developing the minor piece, basic. And here after bishop g5, there is a variation that I would like to recommend you guys. Knight to d7, not playing the bishop to e7, but knight to d7, and after e3, you can go on by playing up the move queen a5, and this move is very interesting if you are new. If your opponent haven't seen this move, I'm pretty sure that you're going to score a winning point in this position, because this particular variation is very stable for black, I would say. It's very interesting to check out. So I'm definitely going to come up with this particular opening in the next video. So yeah, but in the game we have e3 more stable, knight to d7, bishop to e2, and here we have bishop to d6. You can see, guys, the Vladimir Kramnik put the bishop to d6 at the place of e7, because he wants to have some ideas like playing up the move e5 in the future, trying to open up the center. b3 by Gukesh. That was the idea of Gukesh. He wanted to develop the bishop to b2 at the place of playing g5. So we have short castle by Vladimir Kramnik, bishop to b2, and here we have b6 by Vladimir Kramnik. So after bishop b2, there are many players in this position at this particular moment. After simply castling, developing the minor pieces, they always get stuck and they don't know how to continue the position. So if I would have given this position to you guys, like for example, you can feel free to pause the video and try to find the move that you must play in this position if you are in Vladimir Kramnik's shoes. Which move are you going to play in this position? So okay, I think many of the move that comes to an individual is to play a move like h6, stopping back rank issues, playing the rook e8, bringing the rook into the game, or even I guess playing a6. The idea could be to play b5, or even a move like a5 trying to expand on the queen side can be an idea. Or even many of the players would even try to think of a move like e5, though it's not working, but still. So guys, just look at the game of Vladimir Kramnik. After bishop b2, he knew that the bishop on c8 is not yet developed, so he first played b6. He wanted to develop the bishop to first. Like after short castle, he put the bishop to b7, queen c2, and now many players in this position try to do something like rook e8, h6 again. But guys, here's my second question: what are you going to play in this position with the black pieces? You are in Vladimir Kramnik's shoes. What are you going to play? Okay, so all those who have came up with the move rook to c8, excellent move. Simply bringing the piece into the game, basic fundamental chess, which is the most necessary fundamental in a game of chess. Bringing the pieces into the game. After rook c8, simply developing the piece and also putting the rook in the queen's file. We have rook to d1, bringing the piece into the game, and finally, the preparation have been completed. All the pieces are successfully into the game. And here again my question: you are in Vladimir Kramnik's shoes. What are you going to play in this position with the black pieces? Okay, so again, if you find this move, c5, excellent job. And as I told you guys that all the pieces are now successfully into the game, you can simply blow up the position by playing the move c5. After c5, we have cd by Gukesh. If you try to capture dc, which also looks a sensible move, trying to open up the position as the black queen is in the file of rook. After dc, black can simply continue with knight into c5, and after pawn takes knight into, the position is, I would say, equalish. There is nothing much. If you try to capture the knight, bishop into d5, position is absolutely fine. Black is going to play queen e7 on the next move, removing the queen from the rook file, and black is fine. But okay, Gukesh went for the move cd, and here Vladimir Kramnik decided to capture the d pawn, hitting the knight. If you try to capture the pawn back, it's not a great idea, I would say, because after knight takes, you have to capture with the pawn, because if you try to capture with the bishop, now e4 is a strong move. Kicking the bishop back, and after dc, I guess knight into and e5 can be a bit problematic for black. So yeah. So you have to capture the pawn, and after pawn takes, I guess the c pawn and the d pawn are kind of weak. I think these two pawns can be a threat for black because white can seem to target the c pawn and the d pawn, so it's not a good idea. That was the main reason Vladimir first went for capturing the d4 pawn, and after rook into, he now captured the pawn. The knight cannot capture the knight because the queen is pinned. So bishop to c4, not a good move. The best continuation for white would have been to simply get the rook into the game, and after knight here, f6, queen e3, and the position is fine. But in the game we have bishop c4, and now comes knight to e5 by Vladimir Kramnik. If you try to capture the knight, bishop into e5, simply hitting the rook, and if you try to move the rook, here we simply have queen h4, threatening mate in 1, and after if you try to push the pawn, now comes queen h5. And the position is already better for black in this position. The light squares are extremely weak. You just need to move the rook, move the knight, put the queen to f3, and it's mate. So it's extremely bad position for white. So basically after knight e5, the bishop is also hanging. So white went for the move queen to d1. And the basic idea here is, if knight into bishop, then b takes, the knight is hanging. So knight into c3, b into c3, and here queen f6 can be a continuation. It's though black is still slightly better in this position because white's pawn on c and the a file are isolated and the weak, and if white tries to capture the bishop, queen into bishop, and black is already better. So yeah, so after queen e1, here Vladimir decided to capture the knight on c3, which is a fine move. Bishop into c3, and now we have knight into f3. Guys, in this position after bishop into c3, a much finer move would have been to capture the knight with the bishop. The idea was after g into f3, now comes queen into g5 check, king h1, queen h5, simply hitting the pawn. And if you try to come back with the bishop to e2, it's not working because of knight g4, and it's a mate. It's kind of forced mate to can't stop it. So yeah, you have to play king to g2, and after king g2, now comes simply knight into c4, and now again h2 is hanging, so it's simply collapsing. So the point is, after queen h5, what happens if white simply grabs the bishop on d6? After here, now comes knight into f3. Simply one move mate is hanging, so white have to play king g2, and now comes queen g4 check, king move, queen h3, fourth mate. So you have to stop it by playing bishop to e5, protecting the pawn on h2, knight into e5, bishop to e2, and the position is overall, after the dust settles, black is better because definitely if I count the material, white is having 5 pawns, black is having 6 pawns, white king is much weaker than the black king, and black is already winning. So this would have been the best continuation, but knight into f3 was played by Vladimir Kramnik. Pawn takes, queen to f6. As I told you guys, if rook takes the bishop, queen can capture the bishop. So rook to f4, hitting the queen. We have queen to e7. Black could have gone for capturing the bishop, and after takes, this position is also fine. But again, Vladimir wanted to keep the pieces on the board. So we have rook g4, g6, bishop to d4, rook to d8, queen to e2, bishop to c5. So I guess it's a very logical approach that Vladimir wants to trade off the bishop, because once the bishop is traded, I would already say that black is already better because of the bad pawn structure. And yeah, black is already having a one-sided advantage. So bishop to a1, trying to keep this strong bishop. Bishop to a3, basically stopping this queen b2 idea. So bishop a3, and here we have e4, bishop c5, queen to bishop to b2. Queen b2 is not possible because of bishop e4, bishop d4. So we have bishop b2, bishop to d4, asking for a bishop trade. Bishop to c1, rook to c5, and here basically, I guess Vladimir should have continued the game with bishop g7, rook c7, rook d7 can be an idea. But simply playing rook c5, he simply missed this idea of bishop a3, and he simply lost an exchange. H5, rook g2, queen f6, takes. And okay, the game is still here. I guess there must be some error. Okay, this position is definitely better for white because white is an exchanger. But talking about the overall game, we learned one thing: the way we should play the Semi-Slav defense. We have the Semi-Slav defense. We simply develop the knight. We push the pawn to e6. We have this triangular setup. Knight to d7, bishop to d6, short castle. And after short castle, you must play the move b6. The idea is to put the bishop to b7, simply developing the piece and putting the rook to c8. And once all the pieces are developed, now you can simply go for opening up the position by playing the move c5. And after cd, you can already sense black is better in this position. Vladimir Kramnik was close to winning against Gukesh. Like, if he would have captured with the knight with the bishop, I guess he would have saw this line, and basically the king is extremely weak. But okay, he went on capturing with the knight, and soon he basically blundered the exchange. But okay, overall, I guess it was a good game played by Vladimir Kramnik, a very instructive game. So yeah, this was the way you should play the Semi-Slav Defense with the black pieces, you first must develop all your pieces, and then the main problem, your c8 bishop, you must develop it by playing the move b6, bishop b7, rook c8, and then you can open up the position by playing the move c5, and it's a very interesting way to play with the black pieces. So I hope, guys, that you must have liked this video. If you did, and if you learned something new about this particular game, then make sure to like the video and make sure to share this video with everyone who are suffering to play something against what to play against 1d4 with the black pieces. I guess it's a pretty stable and a very solid opening. You can definitely opt for this and score some winning points. So I hope that you guys have liked it, and I'm going to come up with these interesting videos like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching OneShot Chess.